Welcome to Talent Matters, the podcast where talent, skills and grit take centre stage. I'm Donal O'Donoghue and this is episode 30. The podcast is sponsored by Sanderson, talent solutions that transform businesses globally. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Rugby Sevens Player of the Year, Olympian and physiotherapist, Megan Burns. Hey Megan.
How are you?
I'm really good, thank you very much and welcome to Talent Matters.
Thank you very much.
So what we would love to do, obviously we want to talk about your Olympic journey and your sporting career, but as we like to do, we want to rewind back to the start and understand a little bit about where you're from and where you grew up. So tell us where you're from.
Yeah, so I grew up in the countryside on a farm near a town, Tullamore, in the Midlands in County Offaly. And yeah, my dad was a farmer and my mum was a teacher. I have two brothers, so one older and younger, and we're a big sporting family. So some of my favourite memories would have all of us gone out onto into our front garden, really, playing soccer, rugby or cricket or whatever it was. And even my mum would join in, so it would be 3v2. I'd usually go with my dad, and I just think that we had that edge, just, we were a bit quicker or whatever. But yeah, just like growing up, my mum was great to have around, obviously all the summers because she's a teacher. But yeah, just even having my brothers and my dad, they all played rugby growing up. So we were really sporty and competitive. And I remember even one holidays down in Kerry, we played a game of soccer again, like I said, and it just was so competitive that it would always end up in rows and someone would storm off or something. Something would happen and my older brother stormed off. And honestly, I was so young. I was so terrified he wouldn't come back. But yeah, great memories growing up.
Competitive family. And your dad's a big rugby influence or a big rugby influence on yourself. What was your first memory of picking up a rugby ball?
Probably even just in the house. There was rugby balls everywhere. My mum would be going mad because we would have smashed all of her good pottery or plates and everything. So yeah, just as I was growing up, there'd always be rugby balls in the house and thrown around.
And what other sports were you into as a kid?
So yeah, growing up, I played soccer, football. I played a lot of hockey. I did horse riding. I actually had my own pony on the farm at one stage. And I took up rugby when I was really young. I wanted to go in with my brothers and my dad, but I was just too young and it was too mucky and cold for me.
And was there a girls' team at that stage, or was it just in with the lads, or what was?
No, so yeah, it was just in with the lads. So after one or two sessions, I gave up on that, and I went back then whenever they made a girls' team when I was 13.
Brilliant. And tell me about that. So you headed down with a couple of friends from school or something, was it?
Yeah, so myself and I brought two of the girls from school. They would have played soccer and football with me. Brought them down, and honestly, we had just had such good crack that we loved it straight away. It wasn't even just rugby and the sport. It was more how much fun we had and that we'd set up kind of an under-15s team from scratch. And that we went every weekend and played these matches, and I was doing other things alongside that. So I remember on a Tuesday I was going from hockey to rugby and to ballet, and honestly only for the ballet teacher thought I was going to be some ballerina and send me to London school. Like I was so mucky and just chatting through the whole class. I'd say she would have kicked me out, only I was actually half decent at it. But yeah, so then rugby took off, I suppose, and never really looked back. I just enjoyed just the crack so much.
And in terms of school, what were you like and what were you into in terms of kind of subjects that you were interested in?
Yeah, I was quite academic in school. I loved maths and biology and home ec. They're probably my top three. So when it came to my later years in school, I had to give up a few of the sports and what I did. So opportunities came with rugby then, So I kind of chose that path. But I still wanted to stick out school and do as best as I could. I had great ambitions in school. So yeah, I was glad that I was able to do both. But yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that, because you mentioned from literally the under 15s level when the team was put together. It sounds like there was pretty fast progress in terms of starting to play and getting spotted as being a potential player at provincial level or so on. So tell us a little bit about the journey from literally starting playing to the opportunities that came up and the pathway that was there in front of you.
Yeah, there was actually a great pathway for me. So when I was 15, I think I was asked to come into some Leinster trials. So Leinster under 18, it was for the 15s game. And I went to those trials not knowing if I'd ever make it or anything like that. I don't think I put too much pressure on myself, which looking back was probably a good thing. I could enjoy it more. But I ended up, getting on that Leinster underage team when I was 15 and played for the next 2 years with that Leinster team. And they brought in then a Leinster Sevens team and I played with that as well. And then through Leinster, I was spotted for the Irish under 18 Sevens team. And then I went up to Blanche and to DCU a couple of times to have camps over the weekends. And then, through that, we had a couple of tournaments. School games was one of them that I just really enjoyed. And then Europeans in Vichy in France. And from there, then really the career took off. And looking back, when I was, 15, 16, I remember I babysat two of the girls, one of my neighbours, and their mum brought me into hockey one day, and she said to me, like, she was a good runner and like would run loads, but she said to me, would I ever see myself as a professional athlete? And at the time I thought, no way. Like, I don't think I want to play sports or like go to the gym and get all muscly and all of that. And I know that young girls do think like that now, and it's mad to think I did think like that. But it probably wasn't then until when I was playing the underage sevens, when Lucy Mulhall, our captain who just retired there, she coached us. And honestly, from the moment she spoke or sat down in the room, I knew that I wanted to go into that program, and I wanted to become what she was. So yeah, I think that was really the turning point for me.
So how did you balance everything? Because you're obviously dealing with secondary school, you were doing well in school, you had ambitions to go to university, which you did. How did you balance the demands of those years of school and playing?
My school in Tullamore, I went to a local school, Sacred Heart in Tullamore. It was definitely very supportive of me. So whether it was certain classes that maybe I didn't have to be in, that I'd be studying maybe because I missed maybe 2 weeks for going to France or wherever it was throughout those two Leaving Cert years. So they really helped me with that. But I was quite motivated. I had a lot of self-motivation, and if I wasn't playing rugby, I'd be studying or I'd be seeing friends. So I'm always busy, I find. I don't like to just sit and do nothing. So I suppose, I just tried to manage and fit in as much as I could throughout the day, and got me the Leaving Cert then and that I wanted. So
brilliant. Tell me a little bit about the Olympic journey, like from the point where, like, when you joined the Sevens program, obviously there's that kind of view of I might become an Olympian. Talk me through that process of when that became a realization for you and the pathway to becoming an Olympian.
Yeah, when I first went into the program, it was just after the Leaving Cert. Had a little bit of the summer off before I went in August in 2018. I was also starting college that year, so I was starting physio in UCD. But I suppose when I first went in, there was older girls that had already tried to qualify for a previous Olympics, and that was their goal for 2020, that we'd qualify for that Olympics in Tokyo. And unfortunately, that didn't happen for us. And we fell at the hurdles, I suppose. But it was probably when I initially went in, when I got my first cap in Kazan, and then I got selected for a tournament in Japan, that I realised, you know, I could be a part of this team, and I could be a part of the team that may go to the Olympics someday. So the journey really started then.
Talk to us a little bit about the World Series, and obviously you had a brilliant performance there. Tell us a bit about the experience of going to Perth and what that was like.
Yeah, so in Perth we won our first World Series, so got the gold medal there against Australia in the final on their home soil.
Amazing.
It was such an amazing feeling. I know a lot of athletes talk about the highest of highs and lowest of lows, and that was definitely one of those highs. It was a different feeling than qualifying for the Olympics. Qualifying for the Olympics was nearly more of a relief, while winning that gold was something special. I knew leading up to the tournament, we went out a little bit early to Perth, and we all love the sun. I love my tan and all of that. But we spent a lot of time with each other. We went surfing as a group. We did a bit of crazy golf, you know, went out for lunch and dinners together. And I felt like there was massive connection within the group leading into that tournament. It was extra special. I had my brother who's over in Australia. He came over with a lot of his friends and my friends from Sydney to Perth, so I had them in the crowd as well. But yeah, I think once we won our first game in Perth, which was against USA, I knew it was going to be a special tournament for us. We were all performing as individuals, but also connecting as a team. So I think you have to get both right in order to get where we got. And yeah, it was just such a special moment.
I think that's really important in any kind of high performance team. There's that culture piece, and that, as you said, that connection between the team where it becomes more than just teammates. Talk to us a little bit about the culture within your group and within your team.
Yeah, I'd say we have pretty good culture within our group. It's something we've worked on. We talked about heart a lot in our group, and what we bring. And it's all about working hard for each other. I don't just go out there to absolutely give everything I can for those 14 minutes just for myself. It's much more than that. It's for everyone else on the pitch. It's for those that maybe didn't get selected or those that can't be on the pitch, and as well as for our families and everyone who's sacrificed so much for us.
I'm dying to hear about the Paris Olympics and that journey and what it was like. So talk us through, I suppose, from qualification for Paris to preparation to what it was like to actually arrive and compete.
Yeah, so we qualified. There's three different ways for qualifying. The first one is through the World Series, so the top four qualify through that. If not, you go to Rugby Europe. If you come first, you qualify automatically. Second, you go into repertoire. So we were lucky enough to qualify through the World Series. That's the year before, so this year. And we were doing so well throughout the year. There was 6 or 7 World Series that year. And we were well ahead of kind of anyone else below us. So we were in that top 4 and 5. And then suddenly, I think the pressure just hit, and each tournament at a time, we were getting closer, moving further down, and the other teams are moving closer to us. And I think, yeah, it was probably the pressure that hit us, and it all came down to the last tournament in Toulouse, the last World Series of the year. We lost our quarterfinal, and we thought it was all over, but luckily Fiji also lost their quarterfinal. and it was down to that last game, and it's always fine margins on the sevens pitch, and we came out on top. And as I said, it was an amazing feeling, but it was a massive relief that we finally did it. That was my second time trying to qualify, and it was some of the girls' third time. So it was just a massive relief that we could qualify, but such a happy time as well, because we all had our families, because it was so close to home.
And then what happens with the training when you realise, all right, we've qualified and we're on the way to the Olympics? What happens in terms of the intensity of training? And
yeah, intensity rises, of course. But we have great S&C coach and coaches. So I like to trust the process and know that they're going to push our bodies to the limit in the training that we do. And once I'm out on the pitch, whether it's running or practicing my skills or anything like that, I'm going to push my boundaries and my limits as well. So yeah, you start to kind of try and intensify everything, but you do have to rein it back in, because you don't want that pressure to hit you again. And a lot of performing as athletes isn't just that physical side of things. A lot of it is to do with the mental side as well.
And did it feel different, like in terms of managing your mindset running out at the Olympics? Did it feel like just another game, or did you find that you had to kind of center yourself and calm yourself a little bit more? How did you manage that? I suppose that competitive flow, to not be overwhelmed and to be in the moment.
Yeah, running out in Paris with 69,000 supporters in that Stade de France was massive. Like, we run out on a world stage, as I said, like 8 times a year anyway, but this was something bigger, and this was going to be a special moment. And you knew running out that your family was all over the crowd, and you could just hear the crowds, like you could feel it nearly under your feet as you were running out. But I like to just smile as much as I can, even if I'm petrified. I just smile, and I always high five one of my teammates, Amy Murphy-Crowe. So she is such an incredible athlete, and she's such a workhorse and a speedster as well. But I like to do that to try and get a bit of energy from her. And then, yeah, just really smile and breathe, and really just focus on, we have done the work. Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves or anything like that, but let's just try and really stay in the moment and trust the process.
And what are your most memorable moments from Paris?
That was probably one of them, running onto the pitch, knowing that you're going to be an Olympian in a matter of seconds. That was really special. And then probably getting to the village as well. The first night we got there I was a bit overwhelmed. There was so many athletes. It was just such a massive scale, really, for everything.
The organisation looked incredible, didn't it? Like, everything looked to be top class over there.
Yeah, everything we needed was there for us. The food hall was there. It was 24 hours, so it was. There were little stands that we could get our cookies or our chocolate muffins at any time of the day. So yeah, it was just pretty special. I loved going up to the Olympic rings and getting a few photos there. Took me more than one to get a nice one, but yeah, all of those are just really special moments.
And how have things been since the Olympics? What have you been up to since you got back, or since you finished in Paris?
Yeah, I had to let my hair down a little bit. I suppose it's mad to think that I went from that intense preparation for the Olympics to become an Olympian, to sipping cocktails at 11 a.m. But yeah, we stayed on in Paris for a couple of nights. And then when I came home, a couple of us went on a little holiday to Croatia, which was nice, just to kind of just relax and not forget about anything, but just to have something and to be in the sun. So yeah, I've just been really at that, but time seems to fly because we're starting back pre-season now on Monday, so that's going to come quicker than expected, really.
And what are you looking forward to in the next kind of cycle or the coming year? Like what are the events you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to getting back with the team, first of all. We've been apart for quite some time. We don't usually get maybe as much time off. So just getting back into that and getting back into routine. But definitely the World Series, like we'll be looking to come back out stronger this year, because obviously in the Olympics, like we definitely had the potential to medal, and things didn't go our way, and we didn't perform to probably what we expected to perform to, and losing that quarterfinal was devastating. But yeah, so hopefully we can go out this year, and luckily for us, it's not just every 4 years. We do have the World Series every year and big tournaments, so we can go out and hopefully kind of undo some wrongs there and really perform. And yeah, just looking forward to getting back into it all.
It does feel like that this group of players, that there's a real momentum, or as you said, like there's fine margins in sport at this level, but it really feels like there's a momentum with this group of players.
Yeah, I think we have quite a young squad. Lucy, our captain, retired this year, but I think everyone else is hopefully staying on for another year, or we might convince them to stay on for another Olympic cycle. But we all just love each other. Like we're like a family. So I think that hopefully this is only the start for us. Like the last couple of years, we have been building momentum. We have been, getting to our first final, winning silver in Seville there a couple of years ago, then winning bronze, backing it up with that, and then obviously getting our first gold in Perth. So I think we have all the potential. We just need to use that and to really click as a squad. And yeah, hopefully this year and the coming few years, we can bring those performances.
Definitely. What have been some of the tougher moments in terms of some of the challenges you've had to deal with on or off the pitch?
Yeah, I think for me, probably my confidence was one that I struggled with, and probably what I see a lot of athletes struggling with. I've
Like
had
in what way when you say your confidence?
really it can be for anything. It can be you're getting a lot of game time and then suddenly you're not getting on at all, or it might be through injury that you're not performing as well. Or there was about a year and a half that I was injured constantly. I'd say I can count on the number of times that I trained on my hands. I was just about making it back for those World Series tournaments. One tournament in Dubai, I didn't even think I would be playing. And I probably my first session back was that captain's run, and then played in that Dubai tournament. And same with the World Cup 2 years ago. My first session back was that captain's run. So you can lose your confidence through that. But also, yeah, going from playing all these minutes and then suddenly maybe you pick up a niggle or an injury and you're not performing at your best. Probably one of my hardest moments was about 2 years ago. It was that time that we got to our first World Series final when we won silver in Seville. And the week before we had a tournament in Malaga, and I got quite a bad concussion in that. And I kind of pulled myself. I did have thoughts in my head that I would just pull through and just get through the next 2 games, and then I'll settle down and I'll be fine for Seville, because I had this feeling in my head that we were going to do something special in Seville. But it got to a point that I couldn't, not hide it, but like concussions, I suppose, can be a grey area and everything like that. So you kind of have to own up. If your physio doesn't see it. So yeah, I had to pull myself and put myself first and my team first, and pull out of that. So then for Seville, I was sitting in the crowd, and that was really tough. Obviously, I was so happy, and so proud of all the girls getting to the final, and so excited to see that this is where our program has gone. But I suppose on the other hand, like, it was the first final we've ever gotten to, and the first World Series I wasn't on the team playing or on the bench or whatever in 4 years. So that was tough.
It's a real mixed emotion, isn't it? You're delighted for the group and for the progress, but you're kind of outside it, but it's a real mix, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it was just such a weird, like, it was a whirlwind of emotions. And then I was out for quite some time with my concussion. And we had another tournament then in Langford, maybe a month later. And I'd say, like, my confidence was just not up for that. I wasn't really back to myself. I wasn't performing. And I just knew I probably wasn't going to get much game time. And it came down to, we got into a semi-final, which is massive as well. And we played Oz. Unfortunately, we lost that game, but near the end, I got put on, and that was probably my first minutes of that whole tournament. Got on for 5 minutes and made an impact. And then I got started in that bronze final, and was really happy with, that performance. And then we came out with bronze. So again, a mix of emotions throughout that tournament. And I had to have positive self-talk throughout that, because my confidence was at an all-time low. And if that wasn't there, and I knew I'd get my chance at some stage, and I did against Oz. And if I couldn't keep my self-talk a little bit positive, I wasn't going to perform in any way when I did come on. So yeah, that was kind of a tough period for me.
So what, like, for anyone else that's going through something similar to that, when you feel like for whatever reason, maybe somebody isn't getting, as you said, the game minutes, and their confidence is a little bit low, what kind of tools do you use to try to center yourself, or to kind of get back into that groove?
Yeah, I think people do it in different ways, I suppose, and deal with it in different ways. For me, I'm not a very maybe open person. I don't just come home and splurt all my emotions all the time. But the girls were really good to me in Langford, and it kind of just allowed me to open up. And whether that was crying in front of them and just letting them know that I didn't feel like my confidence was there and that I wasn't performing. So yeah, I suppose talking to people definitely helps, because there's people that are all feeling the same. And I know for a fact that there are other girls in the team that experience that. But you do have to bring it back to yourself, and you have to always have a bit of belief in yourself and what you're capable of, because I think if you lose that, it's very tough to get back from.
Yeah. And that kind of goes back to what you were saying about the strength of that team, or that culture, or that supportive group for each other. That's when it really counts, isn't it? When people actually really care about each other as people as well as teammates, it can really bring you back in when you're feeling, maybe not at your best.
Yeah, like, I think it's probably easier that that was all part of my journey, and now I can empathize with people that maybe don't get all the minutes or don't get selected for different reasons. But to have teammates like that you can talk to is massive. And I think we do all truly care about each other. And I think we've built that culture in the team. And to know that your teammates value, no matter if you're not picked by the coaches or different things like that, like, to know that your teammates still value you, that'll keep that bit of belief and confidence up.
What would you say to the young people that are training in rugby clubs around the country that are now seeing the Irish women's sevens team perform at this level, and they're thinking that's something I'd like to do one day? what would you say to those people in terms of what advice would you give them when it comes to how they approach the game?
I think enjoying your rugby first is always key. I think, like, as I said, when I was younger, I didn't put a massive pressure on myself or expectations, and neither did my parents. So I think just really enjoying your rugby at the time, but also you have to have that aspect of motivation and competitiveness and bring that out on that rugby pitch or whatever you're doing. So I think probably both of those, like having that determination, but truly doing it for the enjoyment, especially when you're younger, and hopefully the opportunities will arise, and then you'll be in a better position to kind of perform and kind of take those opportunities as they come.
Talk to us a little bit about your future goals in terms of on and off the pitch, work-wise, and as a professional athlete.
Yeah, work-wise, I've worked part-time as a physio in a private practice for the last 2 years. I also don't know why, but I got another job working with a UCD soccer team. So I'm their rehab physio at the minute. So that'll take up another few hours of my week. But I think physio-wise, I'm not really sure for certain. I want to experience that sports side of things, and that's partly why I took on that job. But probably for the time being, I want to get to another Olympics. That I definitely have ambitions for LA in 2028. So yeah, be looking towards that, I suppose.
Exciting times, definitely, and I think there's huge things to come from this team. So, where can people find out more about you if they want to follow your career? Where can they find you on socials?
Yeah, probably Instagram is the main one. And then we also have an Ireland Sevens page as well, so you can kind of look through our team there and see what our upcoming tournaments and schedule looks like from there.
Great. Well, we will add both of those to the show notes. And can I just say thank you so much for coming in. It's been great hearing your story, and we're looking forward to continuing to watch your progress over the coming years in the next Olympic cycle. And can I say, if you have enjoyed the podcast, you can subscribe to our YouTube and follow our Instagram. They're both at talentmatters_podcast. Thanks again to our sponsor, Sanderson. Huge thanks, Megan, for coming in and chatting with us. And we'll see you next time.